Have you ever wondered why your boss makes more money than you? Why they drive around in their fancy cars to their fancy houses and their fancy neighborhoods while they plan for their fancy trip to Jamaica? I think that in our country, in most countries, there are three types of bosses: bosses of employees, bosses of bosses, and then owners slash CEOs slash presidents. A study shown by the National Bureau of Economic Research shows that employees underestimate how much their bosses make by 114% to 634%, meaning that there is a large lack of transparency. The lack of transparency in wealth and in bosses creates an illusion. This illusion I would call, and by I came up assumingly, called
The Boss Illusion.
Now, there are three parts to what I call the boss illusion: the illusion of lifestyle, the illusion of cost, and the illusion of responsibility. Let's start with the illusion of lifestyle. Did you know that according to forums online of Ferrari owners and Lamborghini owners, 90 to 95% of all people who buy Lamborghinis or Ferraris are actually financing them? In general, among all people who buy luxury cars, supercars, hypercars, all of the crazy $100,000 plus cars, only 8.5% of them are actually buying with cash. In a lot of cases, the rich people and the business owners and the bosses of this world all deal with similar things to us, but maybe just on a higher level. If you're financing a supercar that is $300,000, can you really afford it? If you can't afford it, I don't want to sound Dave Ramsey-y, but if you can't buy it with cash, can you really afford it? So what am I trying to get at with this? In a lot of cases, many of the rich people who are bosses and owners of businesses actually deal with the same things that we in the middle class are also dealing with. Things like debt, relationships, if you're a boss of a boss or boss of employee, you're looking for a promotion. Lots of things that we in the middle class just see, but maybe just on a smaller level than someone who is higher than us being paid more. They might just see it on a higher level. So how are they doing it differently? Well, I came up with an equation: time equals experience equals money. And what I mean by this is the more time you spend doing a thing, the better you get at it, meaning experience. And the more experience you have, the more you can be paid to do something. For example, if you asked me to be the president of Apple today, I would tell you no. Not because I don't want the money. It's because as the president of Apple, you have to deal with a very wide range of things. From marketing to managing your employees to how do we release the next product to what are our stock shareholders doing. Lots of things that go unaccounted for. And so you don't get to the top just walking your way up the stairs. But if you ask me to go run a lemonade stand, I think it's a fairly easy thing to do. I think I could handle it. But that all comes down to the experience and the time. You know, a lemonade stand is pretty easy to run. It's upfront cost maybe $20, and it's easy to mix lemonade powder and water and market it. I mean, you need a little girl or something like that. Another example is when investing your money that you make from your job, your boss is most definitely probably not going to be spending it at the bar every weekend, getting messed up. But saying that out loud, there probably is a lot of bosses that are that are like that, spending their money. But for the most part, it's because they make better decisions with how they invest their money that they earn from their job. Now, typically, if you are working 5 days a week, 9 to 5, most likely you are making under $25 an hour. If you're making more than that, you're probably a boss, I would assume. You're probably not investing much of your money outside of your job because you live a lifestyle spending money on hobbies or food or alcohol or family members or a child, clothes. There's plenty of things that you invest your money in. But are they appreciating assets? Things like stocks, bonds, gold, silver, Dogecoin, things like that. Probably not, right? And so that's where these bosses, these owners, they're making more of their money because what they're doing is taking the money they make from their business or from their job if they're just a boss and reinvesting it somewhere else where they can make more money with it down the road. And the last thing I want to talk about on the illusion of lifestyle is that most bosses and owners of businesses will sacrifice today's time for tomorrow's pleasure. This means that on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sunday nights, when all your buddies may be out drinking, having a fun time, this person is staying in, doing the work, trying to contact people, coming up with new business ideas, different formats, how to market things, things that no one sees behind the scenes, but they're putting the time in outside of the 9 to 5, and that's how they're making more money. The second illusion is the illusion of cost. Whether your boss is the owner of your business or not, to get to where they are now, they had to pay in some way. Whether they paid for schooling or training or any sort of education to get them higher, or just time, which would be your experience part of that equation that I went back on. 3 things that you may consider if you want to be a boss or a business owner or entrepreneur. Just 3 things in my head that I think are important to consider before taking that route are you willing to sacrifice comfort for more money? It's doing the sucky things that you don't want to do, market research, figuring out budgets and what you can afford and can't afford. The second thing I would say is if you're the boss, you have less time to enjoy your money, which isn't, to a degree, I think is true. If you're making enough money and you are the top of the food chain, the head boss, I think that's different because you have control and say over your money. And 3, I just want to say, are you mentally, emotionally, and physically cut to be a boss? I know a lot of times I think about entrepreneurship and I think about the cars I'm around and how I want them, which is kind of lustful, I guess. But I do want nice things in life. I want to have my wife see me as a strong person and to motivate people like her and my family and anyone watching the video. I want to build up my mental strength, my emotional and my physical strength so that I can motivate more people. And I think you have to find out whether you're cut for it or not. And so I still think that I'm trying to figure out if I'm cut for it. It may turn out that down the line I wasn't cut for it, and I can't say I'll ever regret it if it doesn't work out. I know it'll work out because I want it so bad, and I just want to make this work. Not YouTube. YouTube would be cool, but I just want to help the world in a larger way than I currently do. So that's the way I see it anyways. Lastly, the third illusion is the illusion of responsibility. And with this one, I was trying to think of bad bosses, and the first bad boss that came to me is Michael Scott. I think he's a prime example of actually what a lot of employees think of their boss, because for the 10 to 12 seasons or whatever there is of The Office, you just see this goofy dumbass dude that just does nothing all day. I don't think in any of the episodes you really see what Michael Scott does for a living.
It's Britney, bitch.
A good representation of what most people see in their boss, because they don't see what their boss does. And in the show, it never shows. Obviously, he does something, or else they would fire him, but it never shows what he does. And I think that goes back to the lack of transparency. You know, a lot of people don't know what their boss does, but I think it's important to know what your boss does. You know, they do things like accounting, marketing, networking, inventorying, planning, and 1,000 other things that just go right over our heads that we don't see. And I think that you should be aware of a second equation whenever you're thinking about becoming a boss. Our first equation was time equals experience equals money. But there's also the equation when you're wanting to become a boss that I believe is time plus experience equals money plus responsibility squared. So, to end this episode, I want you to leave a comment down below and tell me in the comments what are the things that you think you need to have as traits to be a boss. I know this was a boring video, but whenever it gets raining outside, it's hard for me to find people to get their cars out. So this was kind of just a quick deal, but yeah, comment below what you think it takes to be a boss. Like and subscribe. If you would, share this with your friends. I promise I'll have some cooler stuff coming out, but I just figured this would be a good video to put out in the meantime. But I promise I'm going to be coming out with better videos. I'm going to go to some car events, and I've actually got something else kind of cool that I'll announce probably next week. So tune in next week, and see ya.